In the meantime, let's take a look at the stories making the papers today on a Boxing Day. Good morning to you both. We're joined by Charlie Rowley, Michael Gove's former special advisor, and Bethany Dawson from Politico. Appreciate you both making time. Taxi is not quite playing ball for you the first hour.
Not quite on Boxing Day, no. Who'd have thunk it? But I'm here now.
In fairness, you know, a shout out to the people who are working on Boxing Day, Christmas Day. You know, they keep the economy going. Also, shout out to the people who have done Christmas decorations. Do you go big or do you kind of go laid back for Christmas decorations?
I'm a laid back person. I when I'm trying to be kind of, you know, holier than thou about it, I say it's for sustainability. I personally am quite against festive decorations for all seasons because I think they can be wasteful, but it might be more to do with laziness.
Charlie?
I'm quite bare.
Right.
And so I don't really go to town at all. And I was working yesterday very early morning, and so I basically slept in the afternoon in order to be here for today, which didn't quite work out this morning. But I'm here now, so there you go.
One person who's not gone bare or has not pared it back is Jill Biden. Just take a look at this. This is the White House. It has a new resident shortly. This is the fly-through of what the Bidens...
Goodness me.
...did to the White House. I'm going to do a quiz now for you. Let's not show you the answers on the auto cue. But how many bulbs do you think went into this?
Gosh, how many bulbs?
How many bulbs? How many bulbs? How many light bulbs?
Oh, light bulbs.
What do you reckon?
Oh,
Charlie, what figure?
It's got to be about 10,000?
10,000, Bethany?
I'm going more like 50.
165,000 bulbs. How many trees?
67.
67. Bethany? Any advances on 67?
Yeah, 200.
200. Oh, you slightly over course corrected there. 83. OK, final one. You've seen the trees, you've seen the lights. How many ornaments do you reckon they've got through? I'm going to say it's not hundreds, and I'm going to say it's not hundreds of thousands. That's your clue.
Right. I'm going in the 8,000 ballpark.
8,000.
Yeah.
Charlie, any advances, higher or lower?
Lower.
Lower.
Yes, yes.
What number then?
Well, lower. You said 8,000.
8,000. I said 8,000.
Oh, I'll go. You said not hundreds of thousands.
Not hundreds of thousands.
But it's thousands.
It's thousands.
Oh, right. Oh, well, then.
28,000. Okay. Between the two of you, 28,000. It took 300 volunteers to put together over the course of a week a tribute to service and sacrifice of the country's armed forces, also a tribute to Christmas, I think it's fair to say. That is the scene. Let's stop this flying through now. I think we've seen too much of it, haven't we?
Very low key. Very low key.
The electricity bill.
Obviously, do you remember the haunting scene that when the Trumps were last in the White House, the kind of white spray-painted trees that Ivanka put in, that it was kind of like the Grinch did Christmas, but kind of a horror movie version of as well. So the Bidens really kind of leaving the lights on. Let's talk about news and Merry Christmas indeed to the Bidens and to the 300 volunteers that put it all together. Volunteered or voluntold? I'm not entirely sure which way around. Let's talk about, because we've not got too much longer, but some actual news. King Charles.
Yes, Christmas speech yesterday delivered outside the traditional hallmarks of either the palace or Windsor Castle, and praising the NHS and praising medical professionals that obviously have helped him throughout this year, Princess Kate, and obviously his late mother, the Queen. Making a tribute to them, talking about communities coming together on the back of the riots that we saw earlier this year. It was a very moving speech, actually, and I thought it was a brilliant speech, and something that we can all get behind and resonate with, because it's been a year of ups and downs for not just the royal family, but obviously lots of people every time of year. It's a time for reflection at Christmas, and I think he got the tone and what he said and the articulation of it was perfectly spot on.
Controversial question. We care, papers care, royal watchers care. Do you think the public care?
I think it's waning.
Right.
You know, I think people really like to see the reviews on Twitter, on X, you know, see what people are saying about it. They like to maybe read the comments, get a quick overview. People definitely, of course, watch it, but I think it no longer is this kind of mainstay 3 p.m, have your lunch, watch the King thing that it used to be.
The Queen did one in the stables many years ago. David Attenborough was in charge of BBC Two at the time, was in charge of filming the version, and he was asked from the Buckingham Palace for this version with this name that he'd never heard of. He's like, well, were we supposed to do a version that that for kind of one of the Commonwealth countries that we've not done. It wasn't that. It was the version where the horse behind the Queen had an itch on its top lip, and the Queen wanted to see the version where the horse was kind of miming behind her. And so he kind of asked David Attenborough to provide this kind of comedy outtake. And for a hot second, he was terrified that he'd done the Queen's speech wrong. But thankfully, the recording was good. She just liked to kind of have a good old laugh and kind of laugh at herself. I doubt that there was too many outtakes with the King. They're quite good, aren't they? They're one-take wonders.
They are, but I think that just goes to show the royal family, even though they are obviously the royal family, and there's someone, a family who obviously, head of state, and everybody sort of, looks to when in times of trouble and the unifying of our nation. But they are just people who like a good laugh as well. And King Charles, not so long ago, I think he greeted an American sort of group of tourists that were in central London not so long ago, and just there was an off-the-record sort of conversation that was recorded. You just show the real people. They're normal people that like a laugh just as much as the rest of us.
Late Queen Mother reportedly very good at doing an Ali G impression on Christmas Day. Who doesn't it? Let's move on to a story which is bubbling away. You can kind of feel maybe where this is potentially going. This is in the Daily Telegraph. Bethany.
It is. Asma Assad, the wife of the ousted Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad. She is severely ill with leukemia, at least kind of reports say, the Telegraph says, and there's a 50-50 chance of survival. Now, Asma is a British-Syrian citizen.
British passport.
Yes, she has a British passport, and there have been kind of these rumours that she wants to return to the UK. There are also rumours that she was divorcing her husband or seeking to divorce her husband. Moscow have denied those rumours, and they've also said that she does not want to come to the UK. But if she does, it looks like it would be difficult because David Lammy, our Foreign Secretary, have said that she is not welcome here. So there is this story that I do think is going to keep bubbling along as to whether this, whether this British citizen can return home if she wants to.
She does have citizenship, one would assume, for Syria, so the government could strip that passport, but then I guess she could maybe argue via her lawyers that Syria is no longer a safe place. Does Moscow want to... It's a minefield for the politicians, right?
Totally. And I mean, I think it would be one that runs and runs as a story. But you're absolutely right. The UK has absolutely every right to sort of strip citizenship.
Only if they can have citizenship to another country, right? Otherwise, the UN would say that would be removing statehoodness from an individual. So, that's the issue with Shaima Begum, for example. Her mother's Bangladeshi, and so the British government says, well, she could be eligible for a Bangladeshi passport, therefore she's not being left stateless.
Potentially, but you never know. And then, but she wouldn't be if the UK did strip citizenship, she wouldn't be allowed entry into the UK, and then there would be a whole battle through courts and lawyers, even without entry, and that would take a very, very long time because it might not be, there's no precedence for it and it might be unknown territory and therefore you never know how long these things are going to take. So it's one to watch, but obviously you've got to then look at the individual. I mean, Asma, as far as I'm aware, is an unknown. I know nothing about her.
Well, she is not an ousted leader.
Apart from her husband. That's it. And you can't, judge an individual by their partner or spouse necessarily.
Not necessarily, but when your spouse is... I know.
Which I think is the argument that David
overseeing the
Lammy
killing
making,
of
right?
tens of thousands of dissidents from their perspective.
Yeah, and that's the argument that David Lammy is making. That argument will be made harder, though, if it is true. The Telegraph is reporting that she has acute myeloid leukemia with this 50-50 chance of survival, and it will be harder to argue against letting a British citizen in if they do have that diagnosis.
I mean, the question is, and the question is that, if you can ask them to Asma is, in a roundabout way, what would you like to do? So, are the reports correct that you do want to divorce, your husband? Are you actually in a situation where you need to come to the UK and where the UK should actually be protecting her as opposed to isolating her because of obviously the acts, the awful, horrific acts of her husband? So, do we have a right to sort of look after her? And all of these questions, obviously, something for the Foreign Office to look into.
And this remarkable situation now where Moscow, the Kremlin, kind of being the spokesbody for the couple. Yes. We're going to leave it there because we've got 6 seconds left to go, and I'll get told off if we overrun the end of the programme. But do stay with us. Breakfast on till 10.
weeknights on Sky News.
This is your